Hi everyone, my name is Anna and I'm the Jameson brand ambassador for Northern Ireland. Today I'm going to take you through a virtual tasting of our Jameson portfolio. This is for Belfast Whisky Week and I'm really excited to be part of it. So let's take it back to where it all began. Our founder, John Jameson, was born in 1740 and he was actually born in Scotland. He married a woman called Margaret Haig, whose family were part of the Haig dynasty, who actually founded the Haig Club Whisky. So John Jameson learned an awful lot about whisky production through them and he decided he wanted to make his own. So himself, his wife and their 16 children crossed the sea and set up camp in Smithfield in Dublin, where they bought Bow Street Distillery and opened the doors in 1780. During the 1800s, Irish whisky was on the rise, with over 1,000 small distilleries opened across Ireland. Jameson was really leading the way, with over 50% of our whisky being exported into the US. John Jameson nicknamed all of his employees the barrelmen, and that's something that we actually use today at Irish distillers. He believed it didn't matter what you did at the distillery, whether you opened the gates in the morning or whether you were the master distiller, everybody played their part in our whisky story. And he treated everyone with respect and everybody got their daily grog once they were finished their shift. At the turn of the 1900s, there was a series of unfortunate events that nearly brought the Irish whisky industry to its knees. This started off with World War I, where barley was put on rations to the soldiers, then followed by the Irish Civil War of Independence. But probably the biggest thing to ever happen to the alcohol industry was the 1920s prohibition. Overnight, our biggest market closed, with gallons of whisky being poured down the drain. This led to moonshine Irish whisky being created, which had a detrimental effect on our reputation. And this, the final nail in the coffin, was World War II. By 1960, there were only 4 distilleries left across Ireland. And in 1966, 3 of those merged and formed Irish Distillers Limited. These were Jameson, Powers and Cork distilleries, and this is who we operate under today. By this stage, we were still operating out of Bow Street Distillery in Dublin, and it wasn't until 1971 that we moved all production to Middleton in County Cork. This is where we still operate today, and we are a single distillery whisky, meaning everything from grain to glass happens on site in Middleton in Cork. Jameson is a blended whisky. It is a blend of pot still whisky and grain whisky, which is distilled 3 times in copper pot stills and column stills. At Middleton for Jameson, we use a mix of sherry butts and bourbon barrels. We then rest them in our warehouses. At the minute, there is 1.7 million casks of whisky maturing away at Middleton, and 2% of that is lost a year to the angel share, which is evaporation. It might not sound like a lot, but that actually equals 36,000 bottles of Jameson a day. Once it's matured, we blend it together and send it up to our bottling plant Fox and Geese in Dublin, where it is bottled into our iconic green bottle and sent across the world. So now on to the tasting. As this is a virtual tasting, please feel free to stop and start wherever you need to enjoy the whisky. This is Jameson Original, our bread and butter. Over 3/4 of every bar in the world will have a bottle of this on their back bar. What I love about this is I believe everything you need to know about Jameson Original is either in the bottle or on the bottle. The Jameson family crest is on every bottle of Jameson, and John Jameson really loved it as it was awarded to his family ancestors for fighting pirates off the North Sea. And even our family motto, Sine Metu, which is Latin for without fear. So now we're going to give it a taste. First off, if you want to give it a nose. For me, Jameson Original, I really get that orchard fruit, so like a pear and an apple, with a sweetness as well, and the vanilla note coming from the bourbon barrel. So now if you would like to give it a taste. For me, initially, it's that smoothness on the palate, mixed with a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of vanilla, and then that long, creamy mouthfeel that you'll get from the husk of the unmalted barley. So we've nosed it and we've tasted it, and although this is neat, we have a really popular long serve for our Jameson Original, which is Jameson, ginger ale and fresh lime. The reason I'm so thankful for that serve is that's what got me into Irish whisky. This is our Castmates edition, where whisky meets beer, and it's based purely on a friendship. A distiller at Middleton and a local brewer from Cork decided to collaborate and release whiskies that have been rested in stout and IPA barrels. So this is the first edition, Castmates Stout, where Jameson Original whisky is rested in a stout barrel for 3 months. When you think of a stout, it's rich, it's creamy, it's chocolatey, and that's all the notes that you'll get in our Castmates Stout. So first off, we're going to nose it. On the nose for me, it's very sweet, so vanilla, butterscotch, and a little coffee note as well. So now if you'd like to give it a taste. For me, you get a combination of the likes of dark chocolate, coffee, butterscotch, again with that long creamy mouthfeel that Jameson is known for. So once we tried it with the stout and it was such a success, we thought, let's try it with an Irish pale ale. So this is where our Caskmates IPA edition came from. So we used the same process as the Jameson Caskmates Stout, except we rested our Jameson original whiskey in IPA barrels for about 3 months. First off, we're going to nose it. So for me, this one is a little bit more complex on the nose. To get those floral, delicate notes with a little bit of hoppiness and a little bit of grapefruit. So now, let's give it a taste. For me, on the palate, straight away, I get that citrus note. So the likes of grapefruit or lemon. And then you do get a little smooth undertone as well, but it is a little bit more complex. This is our Jameson Black Barrel. Straight away, you can tell it's a little bit more premium. It's in a clear bottle with a cork lid. This is because part of the blend of Jameson Black Barrel has been matured in double charred bourbon barrels and is a small batch grain whiskey. Why? Well, when we were still based at Bow Street Distillery, we didn't have the facilities to keep all of our casks indoors, meaning we had to store some of them outside before they were used. With the weather in Ireland and it raining so often, it meant some of those barrels got wet on the inside. So to ensure that they were fully dried, we double charred them. This actually allowed us to get a lot more from the wood, so the likes of that toasted oak, butterscotch and toffee, they're all the notes you get in this Jameson Black Barrel. Now let's give this whiskey a taste. So first off, we're going to nose it. So for me, straight away, it's a lot more intense on the nose, but you do get those rich bourbon flavours like vanilla, butterscotch and toffee. So now, let's give it a taste. Again, for me, it's a little bit more complex, very intense on the palate. Still is only 40% ABV, but you again get those rich toasted oak, butterscotch and toffee flavours with a little spice at the end of the palate. This is our Jameson Crested. It wasn't until 1963 that we bottled our whiskey at Bow Street Distillery, and this bottle represents the first drops of liquid into a bottle at Bow Street, with a heavy sherry influence. Now let's give Jameson Crested a taste. Again, I'm going to give it a nose first. So for me, initially I get a really heavy sherry influence, so like dark fruits, raisins and sultanas. And now let's give it a taste. For me, Jameson Crested is a combination of that rich sherry influence, Christmas cake, and then a little bit of toasted oak. This is Jameson Cold Brew, our new addition to our family portfolio. After a successful trial in Northern Ireland last year, it's back with a few tweaks and it's here to stay, and will launch in retail in September and hopefully the on-trade soon after that. But what is Jameson Cold Brew? Jameson Cold Brew is Jameson smoothness infused with the richness of cold brew coffee, made with 100% Arabica beans sourced from Brazil and Colombia. And the liquid, it's 30% ABV with no added sugar. Now let's give it a taste. Straight away, with the liquid, you can see it's a darker hazelnut colour. This is obviously an influence from the cold brew coffee. So if you would like to give it a nose. So straight away on the nose, you're getting those coffee beans, a little bit of vanilla and caramel, and then that richness of dark chocolate. So now, if you'd like to give it a taste. So for me, straight away, you do get that underlining smoothness of Jameson Original, but with the crisp richness of cold brew coffee and a little bit of dark chocolate as well. So that's it for our Jameson family tasting. I hope you learned a little bit about the whiskey and also about our history. Please feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Jameson Whiskey NI to find out what we're up to here in Northern Ireland. That's it from me. Thank you. See you later.
Good.
Woo!
I got that bit as well.
Put that in like blippers at the end.